They say a mother can never forget her suckling child. What happens if a mother actually forgets her suckling child? What is the fate of that child? Many years ago in the town of Abagana, there lived a vibrant and bubbly young girl named Kambili. She was a very loved yet spoilt child, the only surviving child of Mr. and Mrs. Chukuma, a very well-respected couple in Abagana. The couple waited for 15 long years to have Kambili after a series of stillbirths. So when this one finally survived and clocked 1, 3, and 5 years old, the couple were happy. Their hope came back alive that maybe this one was meant to stay alive, unlike the others before her. They swore to give her the best of everything, and that they did. Mama and Papa Kambili spoilt their only child with love, food and attention. Kambili never lacked for anything, at least not food. At 5 years old, Mama Kambili still carried Kambili on her back with wrapper everywhere, to school, to the market, and even to church. Some neighbors would laugh and stare, while others understood where she was coming from. On one occasion, their pastor's wife, Mrs. Ada, couldn't help her curiosity. She asked why Mama Kambili still carried her daughter around with wrapper when she was a grown child with teeth. Mama Kambili, are you not tired of carrying this girl around like this? You are spoiling her too much, oh. When will she ever learn to do things on her own? The pastor's wife asked. Ma, I don't mind carrying her around. I am not tired. I can't be tired of her. I rather carry a living child than bury a dead one, Mama Kambili replied. As the years passed and Kambili grew, she became a very lazy child who couldn't do anything by herself, except to eat like a hungry lioness and sleep for hours. At 12 years, Kambili could barely clean after herself. Mama Kambili had to still bathe her every morning and night. She even helped her brush her teeth most times, because Kambili was too lazy to clean her teeth properly. Every day, all she did was lazily wake up from her bed, lazily drag her body to the bathroom, and wear her school uniform her mother had already washed and ironed, and then bulldoze a large bowl of rice before heading to school. Her life was simple. She didn't have issues. She never threw tantrums, as long as there was food and a mat for her to lay on. As Kambili grew into a beautiful teenage girl, it was then it dawned on her parents that they had raised a very lazy child who couldn't do anything by herself. But it was already too late. You can't bend a dried fish without breaking it. Mama and Papa Kambili became worried for their daughter and her future. They tried to teach her basic skills around the house, but it was already too late. One Saturday morning, Mama Kambili went into Kambili's room, dressed in her native attire. Kambili, your father and I are going to church. Please pick the beans we're having for dinner before we return. Pick it very well, oh. There is food in the kitchen if you are hungry. Okay, Mama, bye-bye. Kambili replied without even raising her head from her pillow. Hours after her parents left, Kambili went to the kitchen and carried the pot of food her mother left for her. She went straight to their parlor and balanced the pot of food in between her legs and devoured the food. After eating, small breeze from outside just blew her ears, and she dozed off right on the floor where she ate, leaving the pot she ate from right at the center of their living room, with her hands and legs spread out like map of Africa. Kambili opened her mouth and snored without a care in the world. Hours later, Papa and Mama Kambili returned, and they were not alone. They came with their pastor, Pastor Chima. When they entered their living room, the sight they saw had them in shock. Kambili was fast asleep, with one leg to the east and the other leg to the west. The worst part was that there was a large dirty pot abandoned in their living room. That day, Mama and Papa Kambili were mortified with shame. They quickly used wrapper to cover her up, while her mother woke her up. Kambili, what are you doing here? Why is there a pot inside our parlor? Mama Kambili asked in embarrassment. Mama, you are back? Okay. After I finished eating, I said let me just rest small before I pick the beans. And one sweet breeze just blew me, and before I know, I slept off. Kambili, you will not kill me, this child. My friend, carry this pot away from here. Pastor Chima is here. That day, Papa Kambili just stood there, mouth wide open in shock. He didn't know what to say. His only child was rotten to the core, and him and his wife had only themselves to blame for it. From that day, their worry for Kambili increased to the extent they could barely sleep most nights. Every day, they would call their daughter and advise her to behave more like a woman, but Kambili couldn't care less. While other teenagers her age were sensitive about their bodies and dressed to impress their crushes, Kambili's case was different. She could even wear plantain leaves sewn together into a shirt, so long it covers her body. All she cared about was good food and a mat to sleep in a cool spot. Years later, Kambili grew into a young woman with long hair, smooth skin, and a figure that made heads turn. She was the epitome of beauty in her community, but no man dared come close to her, not to talk of asking for her hand in marriage. Kambili's reputation was known far and wide, and all the eligible bachelors ran away. Even mothers advised their son to steer clear Kambili because she was trouble. Some would say, any man that will marry Kambili should be ready to employ several maids to help her do everything, including to help her clean her bum after she finishes using the toilet. The words and murmurs from the townspeople reached Mama and Papa Kambili's ears, and their anxiety increased, and they started compulsory dry fasting and prayer for their daughters. But can fasting and prayer solve this issue? One day, a group of medical doctors came to Abagana for medical outreach. When they got to the town, they didn't know anywhere, so Kambili's parents forced her to be their tour guide so she could leave her bed for once. Kambili lazily threw on any clothes she could lay her hands on and lazily dragged her legs outside to help the medical doctors with directions around the town. It was there one of the medical doctors, a handsome man named Prosper, set his gaze upon Kambili. She was grumpy, carefree, and beautiful. He was intrigued. All through the 7 days the outreach lasted, Prosper couldn't take his eyes off Kambili. He sometimes approached her and tried to form a conversation, but Kambili was too lazy to even make friends. After the outreach ended, Prosper did not leave Abagana with his colleagues. He stayed back for a few days and made inquiries about the beautiful girl he saw. When he spoke to some of the neighbors, they told him about Kambili and her laziness and how no man wanted to marry her because she could barely do anything at home by herself. But Prosper was not the least discouraged. He didn't run. Instead, he was even more interested in her. If she's too lazy to do house chores, then I will get a maid for her, he said to himself. One afternoon, he located Kambili's house. When he got there, Mama and Papa Kambili welcomed him warmly. They had never had such a young visitor coming to look for their daughter before. The couple looked at each other and smiled. Maybe God had finally answered their prayer and brought a man to marry Kambili. They thought. That day, Prosper introduced themselves and told Kambili's parents of his intentions to marry their daughter. Kambili's parents were overjoyed to hear such news, but amidst their happiness was the issue of Kambili and her laziness. How will she cope in her husband's house? Will she even last up to a month with her bad character? They thought, my son, we are happy you have shown interest in our daughter. But there are some issues we need to inform you of. I'm sure you must have spoken to our neighbor, and they would have said one or two things about our daughter. The thing is, our daughter is very precious to us. If you must marry her, you must be ready to employ a maid along with her, Because our Kambili is not good at doing housework, Papa Kambili said with a serious expression on his face. That's not a problem, sir. If she agrees to marry me, I promise to take care of her and cherish her forever, Prosper said. That evening, Papa and Mama Kambili called their daughter to the living room and told her about Prosper's intentions to marry her, and Kambili agreed to the proposal. Her parents advised her to change her lazy and dirty ways and be resourceful when she gets to her husband's house. For the next couple of weeks, Prosper visited Kambili in her father's house. Each time he visited, he would bring gifts for her, and they would sit under the tree in front of Kambili's father's house and talk for hours. And their bonds grew deeper. Prosper found out that Kambili was a very intelligent and smart girl, and Kambili admired Prosper for his kindness and patience. Meanwhile, Mama and Papa Kambili would hide in a corner of their house, observing the young couple with their hearts filled with joy and gratitude that Kambili finally got a man to marry her. A few months later, Prosper and Kambili got married, and Prosper took his wife to the city. The first few months of marriage was nothing short of bliss for the young couple. But just as everybody had said, Kambili was lazy and dirty. Prosper didn't mind. He got a house help named Oge to do the house chores, and he supported whenever he was around. But as the days passed, it became clear that nothing beats a woman who was up and doing. Oftentimes, Kambili would leave her dirty plates on the dining table after eating. Sometimes she would even doze off right on the table immediately after she ate. Kambili can stay for a whole full day without brushing her teeth or taking a bath. And to clean her underwear was a big challenge. She would soak her panties in a bucket of water and abandon it for days until it starts to smell before she would lazily wash them. If Kambili was not sleeping, she was eating or watching TV without even taking a shower. And when Prosper returns from work, he would lovingly say, "Babe, this house is scenting, oh. Have you showered today? Oh yeah, get up, let's go and shower." Life was good in the early days of their marriage until Kambili got pregnant. And things went from bad to worse. Kambili could stay 3 days without taking a bath or cleaning her teeth. Every day she would sit on her favorite couch in front of the flat screen. She would eat breakfast, lunch and dinner on that same spot without moving for hours. If Kambili was lazy before, then it had gone through the roof now that she was pregnant. This got so bad that Kambili cannot flush the toilet after she uses it. And whenever Prosper tells her to shower or take care of her body, she would shout and complain that her body was very heavy and she didn't feel like taking a bath. This continued like this, and Prosper was frustrated. He never imagined in his wildest dream that things would get this bad. Every day he was left with no option than to endure the body odor from Kambili because she was too heavy and lazy to clean herself. He had tried all he could to talk to her to no avail. But what could he do? It was for better or for worse. He signed up for it. A few months later, Kambili gave birth to a bouncing baby boy named Joshua, and the couple were elated to be parents. Prosper was particularly very relieved and happy because now Kambili would change and become more responsible now that they had a newborn in the house. But was that really the case? After Kambili gave birth, it was like petrol was poured into a lit flame. She would sleep for hours, abandoning their newborn baby for Prosper and her mother to take care of. It got so bad that most times, whenever Kambili wants to breastfeed their baby, somebody needs to stand close to her to supervise her, so she doesn't sleep off and choke the baby with breast milk. On several occasions, her husband or her mother had to stand and hold her head to stay awake to breastfeed the baby successfully. Prosper was devastated. He never let his family or friends visit him because they would discover the kind of woman he married. Every day he would try to talk to Kambili about her sleeping habits, but it always entered one ear and came right out from the other ear. Her mother, Mama Kambili, also tried to intervene, but it was futile. Laziness did not let her see road. One day, Mama Kambili, after spending 6 months in the city for Mugo, told Prosper and Kambili she had to go back home to take care of her husband. Prosper's heart jumped to his stomach. Who will monitor Kambili and the baby when he leaves for work? Fear gripped him, and just like Prosper had predicted, the real problem started shortly afterwards. Kambili would abandon Joshua and go to a quiet place in the house to sleep. And this kind of sleep was not a short nap. It was a deep sleep that lasted hours, leaving only the maid to struggle with the baby and do all the house chores by herself. One day, after Kambili disappeared again, Joshua wouldn't stop crying. The maid had tried everything possible to pacify him, but it didn't work. Then she picked up her phone and called Prosper at work. Oga, I can't find Madam. Oh. I've been looking everywhere for her, and baby wouldn't stop crying. Abeg come oh. Prosper's heart jumped out of his chest in panic. He abandoned everything he was doing and ran home like a madman. When he got home, truly Joshua wouldn't stop crying. Prosper did everything to pacify him, but nothing worked. It was then they started the ultimate search for Kambili. They searched all her favorite sleeping spots in the house and couldn't find her. They searched the closet, under the staircase, the garage, everywhere and couldn't find Kambili. Panic started creeping into Prosper's heart that maybe something bad had happened to his wife, or had she been kidnapped? That day, Prosper called all their friends and family to ask if they had seen his wife, but nobody had seen her. He even went to the police station to lay complaints about his missing wife, but the police told him to wait for at least 24 hours. That day, Mama Kambili had to rush to the city from the village because she was afraid something bad might have happened to her only daughter. Everything was chaos in the house. But after long hours of searching and searching, Kambili suddenly appeared from nowhere, leisurely strolling into the living room, holding a pillow in her hands, stretching and yawning without a care in the world. When Mama Kambili saw her daughter, she shouted, "Kambili, is this you? Where have you been? We have been looking everywhere for you. Mama, you are back. Why are you people looking for me? I was just resting in the kitchen storage room. Joshua did not let me sleep last night, so I said let me stretch my waist small inside there. The ground is very cool inside." Mama Kambili's mouth flew open in shock and surprise. "Kambili, you were stretching your waist since? You left your child to the maid and you went to stretch your waist for hours? Ah, Kambili, will you ever change?" Mama, I didn't do anything wrong now. I told Oge to take care of my son. I just needed to cool my brain small," Kambili said. Prosper couldn't say a word to his wife. He just stood there cradling his son in his arms with tears pulled up in his eyes. One thing was certain. He was starting to regret ever marrying Kambili. That night, he just went upstairs with his son, leaving Kambili and her mother to talk. One Saturday afternoon, Mama Kambili sent the maid Oge on an errand to the market, and she decided to quickly cook lunch for her daughter and son-in-law. Since it was weekend, she left Kambili and Joshua alone in the living room. Shortly after she left, Joshua started crying, and Kambili carried her son to breastfeed him. And within seconds, small breeze just blew her eyes and she dozed off, right there on the couch while still breastfeeding Joshua. But something terrible happened that day. The breast milk passed through the wrong channel inside Joshua's throat, and he started choking, and Kambili did not even notice. She had started snoring, enjoying her deep sleep. That day, Prosper came downstairs to check on his son, and that was when he saw the ugly sight. His son was choking, while his wife was busy sleeping. Prosper shouted in terror, and he lunged forward and grabbed his son and tried to force the liquid out of his lungs. It was then Kambili woke up from her short nap and saw her son fighting for his life. Fear gripped her. Mama Kambili, who was cooking in the kitchen, heard the commotion in the living room, and she knew Kambili had done it again. She ran to the living room and saw Prosper trying to save her grandson from choking, and Kambili was kneeling beside them, crying out her eyes. That day, Prosper quickly rushed his son to the hospital, and Mama Kambili followed him. When they got to the hospital, Joshua was admitted immediately, and the doctor told them the boy had some fluids in his lungs, which needed to be drained out with a machine. Shortly after the doctor left, Prosper burst into hot tears in the hospital corridor. Mama, Kambili can't even watch her son and take care of him. Mama, I'm tired of this marriage. Please forgive me, but you need to take her back to the village when you are leaving. I can't cope anymore. Mama Kambili couldn't say a word. She just stood by her son-in-law with tears streaming down her own face. She couldn't blame Prosper. It was her fault for not raising her daughter well. Hours later, the pediatric doctor announced that Joshua was stable, that he needed to stay in the hospital for a few days for monitoring. That day, Prosper went home and went straight to where Kambili sat on the floor crying her life out. Kambili, these crocodile tears won't cut it. Your laziness and carelessness almost killed our baby. I have done everything to please you, to treat you right, to make you change for the better. But now I'm done. Please pack your clothes. You are following your mother back to the village. Kambili tried to beg her husband, swearing to change and be better. But Prosper wouldn't listen. His mind was made up. A few days later, Mama Kambili started packing her things to go back home. And Prosper asked the maid to pack all of Kambili's things too. She was leaving his house that day. Kambili pleaded with her mother to intervene, but the old woman couldn't say anything. Mama, help me. Mama, help me beg my husband. Mama, help me beg him to give me a second chance. I want to stay with my son and raise him. Please, Mama. Mama Kambili just stared at her daughter with tears streaming down her face. My daughter, your character is very rotten to the core. There's no man that could have endured the way this man did. He gave you everything, but you had just one job, to take care of your own son. But you couldn't even do that by yourself. Laziness did not let you see road. And I blame myself for spoiling you. Pack your things, let's go back home, Kambili. Mama Kambili said. That day, Kambili and her mother left Prosper's house in tears. Prosper was devastated too, but he was too angry at Kambili to reconsider his decisions. That was how Kambili returned to her bagana with her mother, in shame and tears. When the neighbors spotted her dragging her bags inside her father's house, they laughed and mocked her. So her laziness did not let her stay in her husband's house? What a pity. In a few hours, the news of Kambili's return had spread around the community. Some laughed at her while others pitied her. But Kambili just stayed inside her room for weeks, crying bitterly, regretting her life. Her parents were sad about everything that happened, but they were silent. They just watched everything and swallowed their pains. One night, Kambili made up her mind to change her life and habits for the better. The next morning, at exactly 4 a.m. sharp, she got up from her bed, something she had never done before in her life. She swept her father's compound, swept the whole house, and did all the house chores. That morning, her parents heard noise coming from the kitchen, and they rushed out to meet their daughter cleaning the kitchen. Kambili, what are you doing? Why are you awake so early? Mama, I'm working, she said. And that was the first word she had spoken in weeks. Her parents stared at her in wonder, but they left her alone. For the next couple of weeks, Camille became a different person entirely. She got up early every day, cleaned, cooked the simple food she could cook, and did house chores. She stopped devouring food like a hungry lioness and stopped sleeping for long hours. She became more responsible. At first, her parents thought she would get tired and relapse back to her old ways. But months passed, and Camille did not change. She took control of her life. She even looked for a job and started working in a pure water factory. 1 month passed, 2 months passed, 6 months passed, and Camille did not quit. Her parents were happy that their daughter had changed. One day, Camille returned from the pure water factory and met a car she didn't recognize parked in front of their house. She thought maybe the car belonged to her father's friend, so she didn't think much to it. She entered their small parlor, and the sight she saw almost knocked breath out of her. It was Prosper, dressed sharply in white sleeve, and a beautiful baby boy that resembled her son. Camille staggered back as tears streamed down her face. She couldn't believe her eyes. She never thought she would see her baby boy ever again, and now he was so grown and healthy. Camille, will you not greet your husband and your son? They came from the city to see you, Mama Camille said, smiling. Camille lunged forward towards her son and held him tightly. Will you not hug your husband too? Prosper said with a smile on his face. I heard you have been working really hard these days. I heard you even wake up by 4 a.m. every morning to do house chores. We miss you. If you are still interested in coming back to the city with us, we can start all over again. You, me, and Prosper. Camille held her husband tightly. I'm sorry for everything I put you and our son through. Please forgive me. I have forgiven you. Your parents have been updating me on your improvements, and I'm proud of how you have worked hard to become a better person, Prosper said as he held his wife and son. That day, Prosper took his wife and family home, and Mama and Papa Camille were happy to see their daughter changed and reconciled with her husband and son. Thank you for watching. Hi lovelies, what do you think of the story? The moral of this story is that we should train up a child in the way he should go. When he is old, he or she will not depart from it. Let me know of your thoughts in the comment section below. Please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel if you haven't done so by now. Until I bring another juicy and interesting story your way again, bye for now.